On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Westford, I would like to welcome you to this evening's State Rep Forum. My name is Laura Dickey, and I currently serve as the League's spokesperson. This evening, you will get to hear from the two candidates running for state representative for the 2nd Middlesex District. They will answer questions in a 1-hour moderated forum. This event will be recorded for future broadcasting. I just want to say a few words about the League. The League of Women Voters encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League is a nonpartisan political organization and does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. We always welcome new members, and you can join on our website or learn more about the League at lwv.westford.org. Tonight's questions for the candidates were generated by voter submissions and the League. You can use the Q&A button in Zoom, see it near the bottom of your screen, to submit questions during the event this evening. Questions should be addressed to both candidates and may be edited or combined for clarity. Our moderator for this evening is Joanne Berry from the Acton Area League of Women Voters. She has moderated our local candidates nights and state rep forums often in the past, and we are delighted to have her here to direct the discussion tonight. I will turn it over to Joanne. Thank you.
Thank you. And I get to come to Westford without leaving my house. So welcome, and thank you to both candidates for participating. I would just like to make a note that today is October 25th, 2022. So if something happens after this, there won't be any questions about that. So if you're wondering what the candidates are thinking about something that happens after today, it won't be addressed in this forum. We'll start off, each candidate will have a 2-minute opening statement. We'll go to a series of questions, as Laura said, that have come from email from the public and League members. Series of questions with 1-minute response time from the candidates. In the middle of our series of questions, we'll have a lightning round with some yes/no questions, follow up with more questions with a 1-minute response, and then close with 2-minute statements from each candidate. So let's begin with Rep. Arcero. I have to respell it, so I'll say it correctly.
That's okay. Thank you so much, and thank you to the League and all who are watching tonight. I'm Jim Arcero, and the voters of Chelmsford, Littleton, and Westford have an important decision to make. As your state representative, I have fought for the citizens of this district each and every day in the Massachusetts House of Representatives. This job is about helping people. It's about service to communities in which we live and raise our families. We have spent the last 2 years helping the citizens of Massachusetts navigate the worst public health crisis in our lifetime. Through the pandemic, we saw firsthand the positive effects of working together at all levels of government to solve real life problems. We have made great progress in our state, even during the challenges of the pandemic. Over the last 2 years, several important initiatives have been passed into law. The Student Opportunity Act, which will invest billions of dollars towards K-12 education over the next decade, the biggest investment in secondary education ever made by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The Roadmap 2050 Act and the Offshore Wind Energy Acts, both critically important environmental and energy initiatives aimed at addressing the threat of climate change. The Roe Act and Abortion Access Acts, to protect a woman's fundamental right to control her own reproductive health care decisions without government interference. And under my leadership as the chair of the Joint Committee on Housing, I fought for an historic investment in the production of quality, affordable housing for our seniors, our veterans, and our disabled citizens, all while maintaining a balanced state budget, preserving $6 billion in the rainy day reserve fund, and working on returning close to $3 billion to the taxpayers of Massachusetts. We have accomplished a great deal, but there's still much more to do. And I look forward to discussing the issues with you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Scher.
I'd like to thank League of Women Voters for hosting this event. My name is Raymond Xie. The fact I'm standing here and being part of the race is a great testimony to how this country offers equal opportunity to all. My story is a story of freedom, a story of faith, a story of hard work, just like all immigrants who came here for a new life. I was born and raised in China. I was at Tiananmen Square fighting for freedom as a college student in 1989. After the government crackdown, I soon left China and went to a graduate school in Canada. I moved to Westford, US with my wife in 2000. And I became a US citizen in 2013. We raised our 2 children here in Westford. I absolutely love our community. Chelmsford, Littleton, and Westford were established in 17th and 18th centuries. We have great history, excellent schools, beautiful ponds, trails. However, in the past decade, I have seen growing challenges and threats to our future locally and statewide. Our energy costs are rising, property taxes keep increasing, young professionals cannot afford to buy homes here. Not only that, but people are moving out. We lost 20,000 taxpayers last year in Massachusetts. I'm not a politician. What I bring to the table is 24 years of technology and marketing experience in the private sector. I have a PhD in industrial engineering and multiple patents in telecommunications. I care about public safety and making Massachusetts affordable. I will be honored to be your next state rep. I fought for freedom at Tiananmen Square, and I will fight for you to keep Massachusetts safe and affordable. I hope to earn your vote on November 8th this year.
Thank you. Our first question. Should the state encourage more housing production that is affordable to those with low to moderate range incomes? Why or why not? Dr. Shi.
Yes, I think we need to expand affordable housing supply actually for all income levels. The bill passed, I think, last year allowed 175 communities along train lines to build affordable housing. I think that's a great starting point. What I like to say is that the state can provide more incentives in addition to the mandate. And also I talk to many young professionals. Even the affordable housing being built right now, they are priced, well, they're not qualified. So we need to expand our housing supply at all levels. That is something that I tend to agree. Thanks.
Thank you. Rep. Arcero.
Thank you very much. As chair of the Joint Committee on Housing, certainly post-pandemic, one of the major initiatives that we put forward was almost $1 billion in housing production, in particular for affordable housing or housing for our veterans, our seniors. And in particular, this last legislative session, we need to continue to do more. We lag behind in housing production in our state. We're actually 11th worst in the state in housing production. And post-pandemic, we've seen on the Cape all the way to the Berkshires, there's different challenges with housing. But what we need essentially is to continue to move towards housing production.
Thank you. Next, what are your priorities for using the federal stimulus funding? Rep. Arcero.
Well, right now, we're going to take a closer look exactly of the challenges we have moving forward. Certainly, there's ballot initiatives now that could possibly add $2 billion to that. I think we need to continue to focus on education. I'm very proud of the Student Opportunities Act and the $2 billion that we invested in education, but there's a whole host of other pieces to that as well. We need to look at vocational as well as K through 12 for certificate programs to get people the jobs they need and the skills they need to fill those jobs.
Thank you. Dr. Scher.
Look, yeah, I'm worried about the rising cost of natural gas rate and electricity rate that we have to pay. I'm worried about blackout, brownout in the winter. So I would say that we should provide immediate tax relief to our taxpayers. We had a surplus from last year, $5 billion, and we get this federal rescue fund of $2 billion. We have a lot of revenue surplus sitting in your hand. And this April, Charlie Baker released the tax relief plan, but it was rejected by Beacon Hill. I think my opponent voted no to tax relief in number of scenarios, including no to suspend gas tax, no to a farm fuel rebate, so on and so forth. I'll just stop it here. Thanks.
Thank you. Next question. Should the legislature be involved in setting curriculum for the schools, including but not limited to issues of race and sexuality? Dr. Shi.
I think we need to have sex or the age appropriate materials in terms of sex education. What I have seen is that some of the materials might be pushed too early and too fast to some district. I would support parent rights as well. Let parent get involved. For some of the sex ed educations, I would tend to agree that we should have a default opt out and get parents' agreement for students to opt in. But yeah, that is something that I had a lot of conversation with the parents. I just hear that the voice from our parents in the district. That's basically my stand right now.
Thank you. Rep. Arcero.
I support the LGBT community. I am very proud to support the transgender accommodations law, which would protect people in public accommodations, as well as from workplace discrimination, as well as helping folks learn a little bit about their brothers and sisters. This is something I'm proud that I supported and proud to continue to support. And I do think that that is something in all public areas we should have tolerance.
Thank you. What are the implications of state level climate policies for the second Middlesex communities? Rep. Arcero.
Well, first and foremost, I'm proud to vote for the climate bill 2050 to reach climate neutral by 2050, as well as the wind bill, which would work towards climate change, addressing climate change issues, but also what we can do here locally. Certainly what we've done with the climate action groups in Westford and in Chelmsford, with Byrne Consecchi in Chelmsford and Carol Morris in Westford, specifically this particular year was able to, through the state budget, get an electric mail car for all of the schools. Senator Eldridge and I were also able to leverage money for solar panels for the new library in Littleton, as well as water filling stations in all the schools. So I think there are larger pieces that we can work towards on addressing our climate issues. But secondly, I think we can do things locally as well.
Thank you. Dr. Shi.
Yeah, look, I work for an energy management company in Andover. So I'm fully trained in terms of ESG, net zero emission. Those are global push, green deals, green initiative. I understand that. But also, I'm just worried about in the winter, we're facing blackout, brownout. Massachusetts in the last decade, we really removed our energy independence. And right now, we're in a situation, our energy supply is not enough. We have to increase the rate, and it becomes not sustainable, right? So I support the goal, but then we need to be strategic, we need to be scientific, have the right pace so that people do not suffer. That will be my position.
Thank you. Following up on this topic, should the legislature be taking additional steps to address climate change? Dr. Scher.
I think we should pause and look at what is the impact, and we should look at new technologies in addition to the solar and wind. There is a new advancement in nuclear waste management. There is new hydrogen power. We should look into renewable, biofuel, and so on and so forth. There are so many options. I think we need to explore all options to make sure that we'll achieve the goal at the right pace, but also benefit the planet and benefit our people. That would be my position.
Thank you. Rep. Arcero.
Well, I think certainly we should continue to follow the roadmap of 2050 towards greenhouse gas emissions zero by 2050 and reaching those benchmarks. It's going to be a few years as we follow that through, but also continue to explore and find where we can look towards, building stretch codes to make things more green. Also to see how our environmental justice provisions are working, especially the ones that we put in the roadmap bill. There's certainly a lot of communities that have those challenges.
Thank you. Continuing in our environmental trend, should all cities and towns be allowed to ban new natural gas hookups without having to get legislative approval? Rep. Arcero.
Well, I think we should be protecting all communities. I certainly think the power of communities, they understand their community the best. They understand what's best for their city and town. But I think working in conjunction with the legislature, I think we can achieve that. I think we have in the past. So I certainly think that the best ideas and best practices are certainly coming locally, but I think we can work in concert with our state and federal partners as well.
Thank you. Dr. Shane?
So I assume the question is if a local town should ban fossil fuel powered cars. Was that a question?
I'll reread it. Should all cities and towns be allowed to ban new natural gas hookups without having to get legislative approval?
Oh, I see. Yeah, all for the local economy and local self-governance. I think certainly partner with the legislature would help as well. But in terms of where to hook up and what is the capacity, right now there is a natural gas shortage right now. We declined 2 pipelines coming in 7-8 years ago, and we shut down our Pilgrim nuclear power, right? So 75% of our electricity are being produced by natural gas, right? So there's a shortage there. I would let local town and working with the legislature to make the best decision.
Yeah. Next question. Do you think the legislature needs to take steps to improve how state elections are run? Dr. Sure.
Yes, I think that is really a question that dividing people. We need to restore the faith of people in our election integrity, right? I just read a report from a joint study. I think you can find that on the Harvard EDU website, joint study led by University of Sydney. Basically, our U.S. electoral integrity rating is pretty low. It's lower than most of the European countries. At the state level, it is something that we can certainly look into how we can improve. From voter registration to how we can't vote to the final announcement and so on and so forth. I'm all for voter integrity.
Thank you. Rep. Arcero.
I was, certainly proud to vote for the Votes Act. I certainly, thought that during the pandemic, there were so many things that were very difficult and terrible for people to deal with. But there were also things that came out of it that I think we focused a little bit more on and figured how to improve things. And one of them was voting and increasing democracy, increasing that opportunity to vote. The Votes Act certainly did that. Early voting during the pandemic was something a lot of folks and a lot of people liked and increased participation. That was part of it. Voting by mail was another piece that, certainly was very popular with people and increased participation. And also changing from 20 days to 10 to be able to register to vote. Those were all things that certainly were very positive, and I was very I was very proud to vote for him.
Do you support same-day voter registration, Rep. Arcero?
Certainly conceptually, I do. We had that debate on the Votes Act. There were some concerns. I look forward to the Secretary of State to address those concerns. When we passed the bill, there certainly were a lot of individuals that talked a little bit more about same-day registration. My concern, as with a lot of legislators, was what that effect would be on clerks across the state. Our clerks do a wonderful job in Chelmsford, Littleton, and Westford. And certainly, I think we need to take a pause to do that. I think we're going to get there. But part of the legislation, the Votes Act, was to have the Secretary of State come forward with a report on how to implement that effectively.
Thank you. Dr. Hsu?
My answer would be no as well. I think this is one of the topic I happen to agree with my opponent. I think our town registrar is not right now equipped, trained to do the same-day registration. We can make sure that the system is in place and also educate voters to register early. I know that there was a discussion at State House before. There was a study going on, but I think if we work together and build the faith for our electoral system, it will be really a benefit to both parties and to all voters. So my answer is no, but I think there are ways to continue to improve. Thanks.
Thank you. So that brings us to our lightning round of yes, no. And like I said earlier, if you're burning to say more, just let me know. There's 5 questions. So after we do that, if we need to circle back, we can do that. So do you support state ballot question 2, regulation of dental insurance? Dr. Hsu?
I haven't decided. I talked to dentists. I talked to a lot of people. I heard, on both sides. I know I need to provide a short question. So my short question is I haven't decided yet.
Okay, thank you. Rep. Arcero?
Yes, I do. I've endorsed question 2 as well. It's a consumer protection issue. Certainly, it would require dental insurance companies to dedicate at least 83% to a person's premium to dental care and for a patient care, and not necessarily going towards administrative costs. So I do support it.
Do you support state ballot question 3, expanded availability of licenses for the sale of alcoholic beverages? Rep. Arcero?
I do. And certainly it's an interesting one. I had to do a little studying on it because it is a little bit complicated, but I do support it. Essentially, this would increase the number of alcoholic licenses from 9 to 18 over a period of time. But we've seen across the state, places like Trader Joe's is an example that I've heard. Some have beer and wine licenses, some do not. And so this would be pro-consumer. This would be something that would it would actually be pro-business, but also there's also some pieces in place that bans the alcoholic purchases at self-checkout. I know that I talked to one of my legislators' friends in Boston, in which Target and some other places there's not a lot of supervision. So I thought there's the proper protections in place.
Thank you. Dr. Hsu?
Yes, well, this one I haven't decided either. I like some part of the bill, especially check of driver's license or some qualified ID from people out of state, and also I think Rep. James mentioned the auto checkout regulation. But yeah, there's still data to be connected in my mind, so I haven't decided.
Thank you. Do you support the local ballot question to fund the project at 51 Main Street in Westford? Dr. Hsu?
51 Main Street. That is something I have been looking into. I have not collected enough data, but I tentatively would say that we need to take a look, given currently our town is looking at the next 20 years, our debt level, and also what are the priorities for our town. Frankly, I've heard from voters in our town, there are walkways, there are swimming pools. So we need to, given this financial kind of a crisis at the statewide, well, I'm talking about energy cost crisis, sorry. We need to take a further look, I would say.
Thank you. Rep. Arcero.
I do support it. Certainly someone who grew up in Westford, it's a beautiful historic building and one of the most classic New England centers, I think, in anywhere in the Commonwealth. I think it's important for the town, certainly important for Town Hall as their expansion moves forward. But certainly also, I understand that voters are going to make the final decision on that.
Thank you. Do you support the local ballot question to fund the J.V. Fletcher Library expansion in Westbury? Rep. Arcero.
I do, wholeheartedly. The library is something near and dear to my heart. Again, growing up in town, I've utilized it for so many things over the years. I've seen what the work that they've done in Littleton. I look forward to getting solar panels for Westford if that works out for me in this election. But certainly, it's become such a great meeting place. The work that the folks have done, Ellen Rainville, of course, and the library trustees to move this ballot question forward, and for town meeting with a resounding support of the bill. I think our community loves our library, and I'm one of them.
Thank you. Dr. Shu.
Yeah, so look, I have been knocking on doors since May. I've been riding bikes in all three towns and in almost every neighborhood, and I just found that riding bikes on the roads in Westford is pretty dangerous. Most roads do not have walkways. Our students cannot walk to our schools safely. I like our library. When my kids are young, I always took them there. Great staff, great books, great service there. But at this time, again, I think we need to talk about, we need to bring all of them together and take a look. But for library, I understand there is a 8 million funding from state is coming and is waiting. So I understand there is priority and kind of enticements there. But I'm all for doing the best for our community.
Yeah. The final lightning round. So this was not quite the lightning round, but I appreciate your responses. I think the voters do too, in understanding your reasoning behind your responses to these questions. So this is the last lightning round question. Do you support ranked choice voting in municipal and state elections? Dr. Shi.
Now, my answer would be no. I think it was voted down in the state before, and it's just confusing, and you won't be able to finish the election in one day. So my short answer is no.
Thank you. Rep. Arcero.
Well, the voters did vote it down. Certainly, it's worked, I believe, in some other cities and towns across the state. I'm always open-minded to listening more about it. As of right now, I'm reluctant to move forward. To certainly, I know there's pieces of legislation that come through on my desk right now, but I'd like to take a second look and learn a little bit more.
Thank you. Back to our 1-minute response questions. Do you support funding for non-police or mental health workers in response to 911 calls? Rep. Arcero.
I think the one thing that we've learned, especially through the pandemic, is how important access to mental health is, especially when there's a situation where, maybe a police officer or someone is ununderstanding of a situation and how to address it. I do think that can assist and help a police department. I don't think in any way it would be cutting away from the pie. I think adding to the pie. I know the police certainly in Chelmsford, Littleton, and Westford have done a wonderful job. I have a great working relationship with Chief Spinney, Chief Pinard, and Chief Chambers, and I look forward to those conversations as we move forward.
Thank you. Dr. Shu.
Yeah, I have a question on that. I think the mental health worker and the social worker, they need to be trained. Um, and sometimes it's very challenging situation. What I like to advocate is that we need to continue to make sure our police department has enough funding to do their jobs first. I think medical care or mental health workers are could be complementary and very useful from time to time. But we just want to make sure that our community is safe with all the tools they need. I'm against the bill. Did I pass the time already?
No, I think our timer got a little bit off. You still have some time.
Oh, okay. I'll probably just talk 10,
My
10
apologies.
more seconds. Yeah, no, I don't support the police reform bill. 2 years ago, basically removed qualified immunities from our police officers and also removed the resources and tools they need. It added a lot of unfunded training requirements as well. So I like to make sure our police did receive enough funding. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We do have a question from
Can you rebut
voter.
that? Am I able to rebut that for?
Oh, yeah, I didn't.
I apologize. I should have done the hand.
Yep. But yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say that my opponent has sort of made his entire campaign on that I defunded the police. Number one, sir, is you can't defund the police from the legislature. Number one, that is funded locally by cities and towns and by town meeting. The bill that I think you're referring to is the police reform bill. It was a bipartisan bill supported and signed by Governor Baker, which essentially certified police officers and was given a tool to police departments to weed out those bad apples. Look, police officers in our state, in our town, they do an exemplary job. It's a very hard job. And there are opportunities to continue to support our police. And I've done every opportunity to do that. And this bill that you're referring to defunding the police, I'd have to say, sir, that's just not true. You're making up lies.
Dr. Shi, go ahead.
Yeah, I understand. I think our goals are the same, but bill has its consequences, right? If you look at Boston, right, millions of dollars were taken away from police funding. Last year and this year, they're proposing $13 million cut. And plus across the state from city to towns, now it's very hard to hire police officers. So those type of bill do have consequences. I just want to add that there.
But I again, sir, you're talking about Boston looking to have initiatives to defund the police. That's done at the local level. It's not the police reform bill we supported, which was a bipartisan bill. You have it wrong. You've done 3 negative mailings to my district trying to smear me all over saying that's the case. You're wrong, sir.
Thank you.
Well,
We'll
yeah,
move on. We'll move on.
Okay. Sure.
Next question. Do our current gun control laws need to be updated? Dr. Shi.
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat the question again?
Do our current gun control laws need to be updated?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think Massachusetts has one of the strictest law across the nation. Not only you need to have a law, but I think it's important to execute the law well. And our state has done a pretty good job at this point. Given the safety record of the state, I don't see any additional change to the law.
Thank you. Rep. Arcero.
We have the toughest gun laws anywhere in the nation. This stuff's personal to me. My little cousin was killed at Virginia Tech. It sent a ripple through my entire family and how we look at the world. Moving forward, I'm very proud that we voted for the red flag laws, the extensive background checks that we put forward, mental health evaluations. These are all very, very important. Magazine limits. These are all very important, but there's more work to do. Ghost guns, those need to be looked at. We need to look at any kind of loopholes on the 1998 assault weapons ban. But currently right now, we have the strongest laws in the nation, and we continue to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question from one of our voters. Do you support COVID vaccine requirements for kids to attend school? Rep. Arcero.
Well, it was a difficult thing. My daughter is 6 years old and at Robinson School is in first grade. I trust the science. I trust protecting my family. I trust protecting my daughter. So my brother's a surgeon. My brother-in-law is a gastroenterologist. My wife's a nurse. So I listen to the people that advise me, and I do believe in that. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Xu?
My answer is no. I trust the science as well. Right, the current version of vaccine, it doesn't prevent transmission. I don't think it has enough testing to ensure that it's safe on children, especially I think we're talking about 6 months and older. I think it requires more time to tell. I'm all for freedom, including medical freedom as well. I understand that public health is very important, but every person is different. Some people have chronic diseases, they couldn't take that. So I think each family and each parent, they need to make their independent decision. I'm against mandate. I do want to mention that, last year, because of the mandate at the state level, thousands of state workers, they had to leave their jobs. That create a shortage of the workforce and create a lot of challenges at the state level.
Thank you.
Can I just say also, my opponent, supports medical freedom, but he is pro-life and against the Roe Act. I just want to put that out there. So it doesn't seem consistent.
Next question. Should the Roe Act in Massachusetts be changed going forward? And Dr. Shi.
Roe Act, it was changed at the federal level, right? So currently it's a state law in place, right? I think we're talking about women's reproductive rights, correct? And I do want to mention that in China, women in the last 40 years, women were deprived of reproductive rights because of the single-child policy. There were 400 million babies were killed, and in U.S. we are really short of labor forces. We're short of people. And for many of the abortion cases, people can give up for adoption. So, yeah, I don't, in general, I think life is valuable. That's my position.
Thank you. Rep. Arcero.
Well, certainly there's only one candidate in the race who trusts and respects a woman's right to decide. And a few years back, I shared with a lot of individuals that came together on Westford Common to speak in support of the Roe Act. We passed the Roe Act, and there were other, individuals and states that wondered if, that was necessary. Well, we saw with the decision in the Supreme Court, it was necessary. And I'm very proud of that vote. I'm proud that we protected access here, and we became certainly a beacon of light for other states as well.
Go ahead, Dr. Shi.
Sure. Yeah, I do point out, I understand in some difficult situations, if the baby is going to endanger mom's life, women should have choices according to Becker's best recommendation. But I would never vote yes to take away Medicare to baby born alive due to a failed procedure. And my opponent voted yes on that. And I would not vote yes to lower down the parent consent age from 18 to 16. Governor Baker did not agree with that either.
Thank you. Next question. Do you support legislation that would protect the welfare and privacy of abortion providers and their out-of-state patients? Rep. Arcero.
I do, and we have. And so legislation we put forward here would protect providers as well as individuals if they were to come here for access. And in case there were any legal ramifications or another state was legally against that, that would protect those individuals from coming.
Thank you. Dr. Shi?
Look, I understand the question. I understand the current law in place. I value life, like I mentioned. But for any particular law, I've not really put into my detailed thought. I'm just worried about this winter, how people are going to get through this winter with so high energy costs. And also, we have drug issues in Massachusetts. In Boston alone, since 2020, police pick up 5 million needles on the street. And we have thousands of people dying of fentanyl every year. I'm trying to solve those problems. Those are real challenge problems that we need to have a voice of our people and to let Beacon Hill make some changes in some policies. Thank you.
Can I rebut that real quick? I
Yes,
know
ma'am.
it's also talked about the fentanyl bill, so somehow the legislature is responsible for fentanyl spiking in Massachusetts. It's absurd. In 2015, we voted and passed into law an act to create the new offense of possession and distribution of fentanyl to up to 20 years to distributing or up to 10 grams. So that was landmark legislation that we did to criminalize fentanyl and to get those off the street, with fentanyl being 50 times more powerful than heroin or any other opioid. I certainly don't want my record to be smeared here. This is something the legislature almost 7 years ago took action on and led the nation.
But in 2019, you if I may just quick ask,
Let's move on.
Okay.
Have a few more questions here. Do you support making the House's legislative process more transparent, including making committee members' votes public? Rep. Arcero.
So every year on our House debate, on our House rules, when legislators are first sworn in, this is the first action we take up. I, as myself, have always worked very hard to be transparent, to be accessible, whether that's meeting with constituents, providing constituents with any and all legislative matters that I'm working on, very public, very transparent. In this last session, we made strides, especially on committee votes online. Committee votes are online right now. There still needs more tweaks and works on it. I know that myself, my first year as a chair of a committee, the chair of housing, I had a few inquiries about votes online and always provided those and will always provide those. But we still have more work to do in transparency, but we'll continue to work hard at that.
Thank you. Dr. Shi.
Yeah, my answer is yes. We need to not only make sure the votes are transparent online, but also the public testimonies are available as well. We need to have a solid debate and solid discussion on every bill we pass. I do want to mention that February last year, my opponent voted no to the Amendment 6 to H68, and that was to make the public the votes fully transparent, fully available to voters. I don't understand why he voted that way. And he also voted no to term limits as well for House Speaker in the same year. So those are all government transparency things that we care about.
Well, if I can rebut quickly, I don't think voting for the Speaker of the House is about transparency. I mean, certainly, unless you read the vote being secret, etc. But I think most members are pretty open about who they vote for. But I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Couple more questions. In case you think the other two ballot questions were forgotten, they were not. Do you support state ballot question 1, additional tax on income over $1 million? And Dr. Shi.
No, I would not support that. I think that is just send the wrong message, and especially send the wrong message to homeowners, to small business owners. Especially our state has billions of surplus right now, and we are trying to get more taxes from our voters, from our taxpayers. I understand my opponent co-sponsored the bill, and I have a different view as well. I'm more for lower tax, make our business environment more attractive. Another problem with this bill is that it's going to affect many small business owners and homeowner owners during a single transaction year, where they may collect over $1 billion sometimes gain. So my answer is no.
Thank you. Rep. Arcero.
Yes. And in the legislature, I voted twice on constitutional conventions to put this in the ballot before the folks on November 8th. I look at it this way. Certainly, this is not going to apply to more than 99% of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, just the highest earners. And that's going to be dedicated to constitutionally to public education, transportation, higher education, and roads and bridges, which certainly when it comes to transportation, we look no further than the Orange Line in Boston that caught on fire and individuals had to jump out almost into the river to get away. There's an investment that needs to be done here. I'm very proud of the Promise Act and what we've done there. But certainly we understand that we need to continue to dedicate these revenues to these very important categories.
Thank you. Dr. Hsu.
Yeah, I'll just quickly add that this could be a slippery slope as well. Just look at Connecticut. Once they changed their flat income tax to graduate tax 20 years ago, their economy never came back. Companies, technologists just left the state. So that is what I mentioned. We should send the right message to our, taxpayers, basically. Thanks.
Thank you. And do you support state ballot question 4, eligibility for driver's licenses? Rep. Arcero.
I do. Massachusetts has 250,000 undocumented individuals that live in the state, and 45 to 85,000 people are potential drivers. To me, this is about public safety. This is about educating individuals on how to drive, the rules of the road. It's about insuring individuals. It's about registering cars, and this nonsense about corruption within the votes, and they would automatically register to vote. It's just not true. For individuals who are students, student visas and green cards, those individuals, RMV has procedures in place that won't automatically register to vote. When I voted for this bill that now is looking to repeal, we made sure in the language that it was similar to green card holders and students with visas, to ensure that the RMV has policies and procedures that they're not automatically voted. So I do support this. This is about public safety. It's about making sure that our roads and bridges, our roads are safe and people learn how to drive. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Hsu.
Look, this is really a tough question. My heart with all the people living in Massachusetts. But I think it has a number of critical implications, especially our southern border is open, and we have migrants coming constantly. And a lot of drugs, majority of the drugs coming to Massachusetts are from illegal immigrants coming. And I'm not saying that they're bad, but they're being leveraged by drug cartels. That's the bad situation. And second, 2 years ago, we changed the law to make the default opt-in for voter registration at RMV to come default opt-out. A default opt-out to default opt-in. And therefore, we could face this election integrity issue. That's something will require more debate. Thank you.
Okay, before we move to closing statements, I would first like to thank both candidates for putting yourselves out there, for running, and for participating this evening in our discussion. I believe the voters have probably learned quite a bit and can make their choice with information that you've provided. And thanks to voters who have been watching and who will view this program later on YouTube or your Westford cable or other town channels. So each candidate will now have 2 minutes for a closing statement. And Dr. Shi, you may proceed.
Again, I'd like to thank League of Women Voters for hosting this event. It's clear my opponent and I, we have different worldviews. As a result, our policies are drastically different. He is for removing qualified immunities for police, collecting more taxes from you and adding more fees to your natural gas bill. He's also soft on crime. I'm for public safety and lower taxes to help you survive the winter, attract more businesses, and grow our economy. We will have a great future. Our hope lies in the hardworking people of Massachusetts, along with the checks and balances built into our political system. Our community always welcomes new blood and a pair of fresh eyes to hold our government accountable. If you elect me, I will work for you. My opponent voted in lockstep with the reckless agenda that is jeopardizing our economy, jobs, and families in Massachusetts. I will be an independent voice for you to make Massachusetts safe and affordable. During my campaign, I have talked with thousands of voters. I witnessed working class families suffering from inflation, high gas and heating oil prices, and high electricity bills. Some have broken into tears before me because they have lost loved ones to fentanyl overdose and COVID-19. I want to use my 24 years of technology and marketing experience on Beacon Hill to change from this tragic direction that my opponent and the leadership have taken us. We have a lot of work to do, but with your support, I'm up to the challenge. I will bring people together and work hard to keep Massachusetts safe and affordable. I hope to earn your vote on November 8th this year.
Thank you. Rep. Arcero.
Thank you again to the moderator, Westford League of Women Voters, and all those who are watching at home tonight. We have heard two very different views of state government, and going forward, what the critical issues will be for the citizens and communities of the Commonwealth. I have outlined my positions on the many matters raised this evening, and what I think is the best path forward. During the last few years, we have faced unprecedented challenges with the COVID-19 pandemic. Working in cooperation with my partners in both local and federal government, my office was able to help hundreds of Massachusetts citizens with their unemployment claims when they suddenly found themselves out of work, and to help people stay housed when faced with eviction, and to assist businesses to survive both the initial economic shutdown and then to formulate reopening plans under the new COVID restrictions. We provided critical resources for our schools to institute virtual learning for our children, and then to make our schools safe to return to in-person education. I believe that challenging times can show what can be done when we all work together. I believe this partnership can be sustained and strengthened as we strive for a better tomorrow. I am proud of what we've accomplished, both with the pandemic response and with the great progress we've made in education, addressing climate change, reproductive freedom, improved infrastructure and housing over the last 2 years. It's something I'm proud of. I look forward to continuing our work on behalf of children, veterans, seniors, and our communities as we tackle the challenges of the future. I offer you a record of accomplishments for the 3 communities that I have had the honor and privilege to represent and serve: Chelmsford, Littleton, and Westford. I love this job and the ability to make positive changes on your behalf. I humbly ask for both your vote and consideration on or before November 8th. Thank you.
I would like to thank Joanne Berry for moderating this evening. Thank you so much for the candidates for participating, to WestfordCAT who will make this recording available online afterwards, and to the many league members who worked to make this evening possible. Remember, early voting has already started and Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th. Polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thank you and good night.
Thank you all. Have a good night. Thank you.